Why wasn't Animal Crossing announced at Nintendo's E3? Hey everybody, this is Chewy Plays Nintendo, and today I just want to go over kind of my post-E3 thoughts. If you haven't watched all of my videos yet, or any of the or listened to the podcasts at all, you kind of know that I was getting my hopes up for Animal Crossing, and I know this is a couple days after Nintendo's E3, maybe a few, depending on how long it takes me to edit this, but I just wanted to give you all an idea of where I stood kind of before E3, directly after, and now that I've slept on it, what I'm thinking about Animal Crossing. So the pre-E3 podcast and my whole series leading up to E3, which was Is It Time for Animal Crossing Switch, I was pretty confident. I was putting out like a ton of different information of why I thought it was time for us to see the next Animal Crossing game, because it's been, like I said, 5 years now. It's been a really long time since we saw an Animal Crossing game, and I'm sure, for me, I play Animal Crossing about 2 years, like straight, every single day, and then I'm kind of full. I start to drop off after that, and then it just becomes a waiting game for the next one. And I think it's totally fine that they take their time, because I want to see the next Animal Crossing be as great as possible. So the pre-E3, I really thought Animal Crossing was going to get announced. I was getting my hopes up. I think the moment before I tweeted that, for me, this is the last year that Animal Crossing could not get announced. This was the last year to me that Nintendo could go without talking about Animal Crossing, just because it's such a big game. All we've really gotten so far for the past, I don't know, since 2015 has been just spin-offs. So for me, it felt like it was time. I got my hopes up, and then I wasn't expecting myself to feel as disappointed as possible. I think right before the E3 presentation, I put that tweet out, and it might have been me just like kind of preparing myself for the worst, but I don't think I could get as prepared. So I guess right after, if you haven't listened to the live E3 podcast, some spoilers, I guess I was just feeling like, is Animal Crossing coming next year? Because I wanted so badly to believe that no matter what, Animal Crossing was 2019. So pre-E3, I thought, it's going to get announced. This game is 2019. It has to get announced. And then I also thought, even if it's not, I still feel like the game is coming in 2019. But then we got the presentation, we got whatever announcements we got, and from there I just felt like, is this coming in 2019? Now I feel like it's coming in 2020, just because the things they talked about, the things they left out, I felt like Nintendo's schedule would be too busy to fit in a new Animal Crossing game. So, I don't know. I felt sad. I was disappointed. I just wanted to get that new game. And yeah, I guess I was talking to a friend about it they were still confident that it was 2019, but I just couldn't see it. I didn't believe that it would happen. So after sleeping on it, I thought of some key things that we learned from the presentation that I wanted to share with all of you, just in case you're feeling the same way as me, because I know a lot of us fans have been waiting for a long time for any type of word, and even when we get like Animal Crossing Directs and things, we're still not getting news about a new game. For example, when Welcome Amiibo was announced, we were all kind of surprised. Like, why aren't they making a Wii U Animal Crossing? Obviously now it's because the Wii U failed and they didn't want to put an Animal Crossing game on a system like that, I think. Because, I don't know. Regardless, so yeah, I just wanted to give you all a background on how I feel about 48 hours after the fact. So, the first thing I want to point out is that Nintendo only really showed one brand new game that we didn't know about, and that was Super Mario Party. So this is a Nintendo game. This is what they've essentially the only new thing that we didn't know about going into it that is coming out of their own I guess intellectual properties, their own IPs. So other than that, we got word about Fire Emblem, which we knew about for a year and a half now, so this is the first time they're showing this Fire Emblem. A lot of people feel like it was delayed. I personally don't, just because the initial announcement said planned for 2018. For me, plans can change. It didn't feel as solidified. The thing that really did get delayed, though, I feel, is Yoshi. So Yoshi's an actual delay for me. Just because last year they said 2018, this year they said nothing about it, and then on the website just posted that it's coming 2019. So that felt delayed, but they didn't say anything about it. And then what was the other thing we saw going in? Smash, of course. So those were essentially the 3 Nintendo things we saw. There was Smash, Fire Emblem, and Mario Party. So that's 3. And one of them we didn't know about. I don't really know what to think about Demon X Machina. I think Nintendo's publishing the game, but they're not exactly developing it, so not really using their resources. But yeah, overall, like, a lot of Nintendo games got left out. Like, Animal Crossing wasn't the only thing, and I think overall Nintendo was putting all of their time and energy and effort into the Smash Bros. Announcement, which, gosh, they put a lot of time and energy into that, because it was nearly 25 minutes of that whole presentation, which was about 45 minutes long, so it took up a majority of the time. So I think overall, I was disappointed not to see Animal Crossing, but looking back and thinking about what was actually announced, they didn't talk about very much. They left a lot of different things out. Like, we got nothing on Metroid, nothing on Yoshi, nothing on Pikmin 4, which Nintendo has been talking about. So there are a lot of major games that didn't get talked about at this, and that's why I'm feeling like, okay, so maybe Animal Crossing could still be on the way, but they just didn't talk about anything. Like, the only thing we got was an October game, Super Mario Party, which that actually got me the most excited, I think, because it was the only real thing that I didn't know about going into this. I think it sucks to stay kind of close to that news and feel like, what's gonna happen? And then you're like, oh, everything I knew was happening is happening. So yeah, the initial thoughts, I was sad, but now I am okay because a lot of things were not talked about. The next thing I want to talk about is during the presentation, they went over to a segment at their Japanese developers, like, headquarters, essentially. And the person giving the speech right before then said that this was only a small amount of what Nintendo was working on. And I think that's crucial for us. I think they knew that they weren't announcing anything too new. Like, everything going in was something we expected, something third party, something indie, and just from their own studios or their own, like, Nintendo games, like what we would consider a Nintendo game, they didn't say much. And I think they knew that, and they let us know that there are other things that they're working on. And if you look at, I think it's called the Nintendo Planning and Development Team that actually handles, like, making Nintendo games. If you look into that, then you'll see that 2017 kind of had a lot of things. I don't know, some of the games, like, they have a smaller and bigger role in, but if they have a role in it, it's going to show up on this wiki page, which I'll have screenshotted up here. But essentially, 2017, they kind of had a lot of games. 2018 is looking bare, with only 3 games on this list for them. So I think this is kind of, I think they put a lot of effort toward that first Nintendo Switch year to have as much as possible ready for that. And then 2018 is kind of an in-betweener for them. They are, you know, they're still working on things, but it's not quite ready. That's what I'm getting the impression of. They're working on games that they feel they cannot share yet. And even things like Metroid, that's being handled by a third party or a second party. I think in this case it is a third party. Bandai Namco is working on Metroid, who is also working on Smash. So I don't know how they've got the resources split there, but I wasn't expecting to see Metroid after knowing that Bandai Namco was working on it, because I'm like, they must be kind of busy with Smash. Like, that's a big game for Nintendo. That's a very close date for release. So December is really close. So regardless, like, you have third parties working on Nintendo games or second parties working on Nintendo games. The actual, like, Nintendo development team, whatever they're working on for 2019, as of right now, we don't know. And we know they only have a few games under their belt for this year. So I think we can still expect Animal Crossing to be 2019. I'm still expecting it. I don't know how realistic that is because, internally, externally, we haven't heard anything about the game. For all we know, they're still working pretty hard on it and are just trying to determine when is a good time to show us, because the one thing Nintendo is definitely avoiding right now is excessive wait times for games between announcement and release. You see it with things like Kingdom Hearts 3. We've seen it in the past for games from Nintendo themselves, and just the industry as a whole has a habit of showing us games that are not coming out for another 3 years. And that's unfortunate. I think people get their hopes up to see things at E3, and I think Nintendo is trying to just change their announcements so that everything that they show, everything is within reach. And just judging by their announcement and release schedules, they're really trying to keep things within a year of each other. They don't want to show us things that are coming out 2 years in the future. Of course, at this point, Metroid and Yoshi are an exception to that for the Switch, but yeah, they didn't really give us anything solidified with Metroid. Yoshi's, for me, the real first delay that we've gotten in this Switch era. So yeah, that's all I kind of wanted to say. Finally, Reggie Fils-Aimé had an interview recently, and it was in response to the Nintendo stock drop after the E3 presentation. So Nintendo's stock kind of took a dive after this because people weren't seeing anything really new. They weren't, I guess investors aren't convinced that Nintendo is going to reach this 20 million sales. And so what Reggie had to say about that is that they still have a lot of things they're working on, but they love to surprise people. Like Fortnite was an example of that. Hollow Knight, both have knights in them. But both of those games were dropped directly after E3. Fortnite is, of course, a very huge game. That's already gotten 2 million downloads in less than 24 hours. So the game is doing well on the Switch. But regardless, Reggie is saying we love to surprise people. We love to save announcements for later in the year. So he said later in the year, be on the lookout. Essentially, this is what he's saying to me. The in between the lines reading for me is be on the lookout for later announcements because there's more that they have to say, but they just haven't been able to say it yet. And I think near the end of this year, early next year, we're going to be getting some of those surprise announcements. Like all we really know for 2019 right now is that in the spring, we're getting a Fire Emblem. What are we getting in the early winter month? What's directly after Smash? I'm sure they might take a month off because Smash is a huge game for them. But once we start getting into February, March, that's when I think we're going to start seeing a lot of new things that are coming, because right now we don't know much about 2019. We kind of went into this E3 knowing a lot about what was going on the rest of 2018. We came in knowing Pokemon was coming. We came in with some idea that Super Smash Bros. Was coming. And then we were waiting to hear on Fire Emblem, Yoshi, Metroid. Heard nothing on Yoshi and Metroid, but Fire Emblem is coming. So 2019 is an open book. And right now, I think before E3, I thought 2019 would be a year for Animal Crossing. Now that I've slept on it, I feel like 2019 could still be the year for Animal Crossing. So that's all I wanted to say. This is my post E3. I think, yeah, like a lot of you, I was disappointed, but now I think that Animal Crossing is a possibility for them still. So let's go ahead and wait. I guess as far as my predictions of when we're going to see it, I feel like my gut's telling me early next year, maybe that same March area that Smash Bros got announced, but I don't know. Optimistically, I would say end of this year, we'll see some cool 2019 announcements. We still have Nintendo Directs to go, especially judging by what Reggie has said. But yeah, I'm thinking early next year we're going to hear about it, and I'm hoping we do, and E3 kind of gives Animal Crossing the same love that it gave Super Smash Bros. But anyways, I hope you all are doing well. I know it was a tough thing. If you haven't listened back to my episodes of Is It Time for Animal Crossing Switch, I feel like I give some good reasons for them to announce it. And of course, listen to the podcast if you want to hear all of our thoughts on all of these things. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I hope you have a great day and a great week. Bye.